Hi guys, I'm Emperor, and welcome to Tuesday's ONMDaily. Today's topic celebrates one of the finest British video game series ever created by one of Britain's best game studios. If any of you have heard of the Creative Assembly, you better be jumping in the air right now. Yes, I'm talking about Total War. The Total War series is perhaps my favourite strategy game due to its large scale real-time battles and very lengthy campaign modes. Now, for the uninitiated, the Total War series puts you in place of a ruler of a nation where the object is to take your nation to the peak of global dominance. The main part of the game is turn-based strategy, where you move armies and characters around a campaign map that comprises a great big world. However, initiating battle between two armies sees you battle in real time, where you use your own strategies to defeat your opponent. So, the series began in 2000 with Shogun. Shogun Total War is set in the Sengoku period of Japan, which is Japan's equivalent of Chinese War and States period. It begins in the mid-15th century. The game places you as a daimyo of a clan where you must conquer the whole of Japan, uniting it under one ruler and thus becoming shogun. Daimyo is basically a Japanese war general, and shogun is basically the ruler of Japan back in the old feudal days. So when I started playing Shogun 1, I was only like 9, 10, so I didn't really have a grasp of the full depth of strategy that was required in the game. However, I like building up all the cities and making the soldiers move around the map and stuff like that. For battles, I just use the auto-resolve button, which is just a quick way of getting through a battle. And for those who want to concentrate more on the campaign side of things, then the battles, it works quite well. You use the game's AI to determine the battle results, but as it says in the game, usually better off, you get a better result if you actually do the battle yourself. Otherwise, it's like says, comes up, you win, and you might have less soldiers remaining than you would have if you won yourself, basically. So perhaps I was too young to play it properly, but the first game was a big hit for the Creative Assembly, who previously only developed, say, a few games, mainly under the EA Sports label. So, beginning a trend that would continue throughout the series, an expansion pack was released, and it was entitled The Mongol Invasion! The Mongols are coming! Basically, the expansion, it details the Mongol invasion of Japan. It's set a little bit before the original Shogun. I never actually played this, so I can't tell you what in the world it was like. Now, at this point, I have to mention the great Jeff Van Dyke. I think that's how his name is pronounced, but if it's not, just correct us in the comments or something. Jeff is the composer for all the Total War games except Empire and Napoleon, and I absolutely love his work. I don't remember paying that much attention to the music in Shogun, but for Medieval I definitely did. The music that plays in the battles just seems so perfect, and it creates the correct amount of tension and anticipation that gets you all riled up with thinking, yes, yes, I have to win this battle, I have to win, or unless I don't, I will die. Yeah, basically that kind of thing. Generally, the music's like astounding throughout the series. Rome Medieval 2 in particular, where in the credits you had actual songs which he wrote and were sung by his wife Angela. He actually won a BAFTA in 2001 for Shogun, and he was a BAFTA nominee for Rome in 2005. If you've heard his stuff, the awards don't really come as a surprise. It's just absolutely fantastic. Just YouTube it or go on his website, just Google Jeff Van Dyke and He's got samples on his website, and it's absolutely fantastic. So next up we have Medieval. Medieval takes a series to medieval Europe. It was released back in 2001. We also have an expansion, which I have here, the Viking Invasion. The invasion subtitle carries on until the Rome. After that, they basically got rid of it. Still, it was actually a great idea to use that subtitle. Invasion sounds really good. Anyway, that aside, Medieval uses the same engine as Shogun, but is historically based around Europe. Religion becomes a big part of the series here, where you've got interactions with the papal states, the excommunication, that sort of thing. And if you're playing as one of the Middle Eastern nations, you've got Islam, and it's like quite religiously based. Diplomacy comes in a lot, where you can either go around like conquering everybody, or you can actually make allies through your diplomat and stuff like that. So it's like kind of free. You can choose which path you want to take, whether you want to go around just conquering everybody, or you actually want to make some friends. Yeah, friends. Okay, so I love Medieval just as I love Shogun. However, due to the more familiar setting, I think it was Medieval that set the series up to be one that I actually follow. After Medieval and the Viking Invasion, we got Rome Total War, which changed a lot of the series aspects. It boasted a whole new engine that displayed the map as a proper representation of the world instead of the paper maps we've been playing on for the past 4 years. Rome was such a huge improvement on the previous games that so many people quote it as the best Total War game that's ever been made, and I think that's pretty much true in my opinion. Playing Rome was really when I started to develop as a true Total War player. So I began to actually grasp the strategic side of things, and it was about this time where they done the Time Commanders series on the BBC, and I think I saw a few episodes of that. That was good. They should bring that back. They really need to bring that back. Time Commanders was awesome. Oh yeah. So Rome had 2 expansions. The first here, Barbarian Invasion. It was a great expansion and it added tons of more hours to the main game, as well as an interesting new gameplay feature. When a faction lost its settlement, it actually became a barbarian horde instead of just vanishing. And you were forced to basically find a new settlement to rise up again. When you found a new settlement, you became a normal faction again, and you do all the things a normal faction can do. So we also have a second expansion, which is Rome's the only game to have like 2 expansions, and it is Alexander. It basically follows the path of Alexander the Great. But unfortunately, I didn't play this very much as it came out just before the next big Total War release, which is Medieval 2! Yes, it was so good they made the second one. Medieval 2 is a reworking of the first Medieval Total War, and it uses the Rome engine, and it's set between 1080 to 1530. Although Rome may have been a slightly better game, I did find myself playing more on Medieval 2. Well, that's due to certain circumstances that I'll go on about in a minute. But, Medieval 2 is very similar to the first Medieval, and the battles were still highly enjoyable. Great big lengthy campaign that you could conquer the whole of Europe and stuff like that. And it changes a little in the late game compared to the original, where it's slightly longer, so you get to the more gunpowder stuff, where you've got like guns and things like that coming in at the late game. One thing I should really mention is Total War's strong multiplayer offering. The multiplayer battles have always been a hit for the main fans, and Rome and Medieval 2 definitely made it more accessible because they use, remember the old GameSpy multiplayer network thing? Well, they basically use that. Not is brilliant, is what Steam is and stuff like that. It was still great to have multiplayer battles. I didn't spend too much time on the multiplayer, on the single player, but I used to have great big battles over the internet with my uncle, who's also a great big strategy fan. So that was awesome. We have an expansion, which is quite a big expansion, Kingdoms, which added 4 new campaigns, each set in a different part of Europe. So, Britannia, which saw you attempting to unite the British Isles as ruler of all England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland. The Crusades, how you're fighting the Holy Land, Jerusalem. Teutonic was based on the Teutonic Order in Eastern Europe when you were fighting against the pagans. And we also had the Americas campaign, which is like, could be seen as a prequel to Empire, perhaps. But it basically begins the colonization of America. From its release up until like mid 2009, I pretty much played Kingdoms to death. As I missed out on Empire, but I don't think I'll ever get now unless like console on Steam for like £3-4 or something. But, Empire Total War brought a refined engine, early modern era setting, with main campaign being about America and stuff like that. And the high point of Empire, it introduced the naval battles in real time, which everybody had been calling out for since like Rome, and that was one of the unique selling points of the game, the inclusion of the naval battles. And also it brought a move to the Total War series to Steam, so everything, as Total War players will know, everything Total War is now done through Steam, which is a great choice. I like Steam, Steam's good. So I never played Empire myself, but as I say, I don't really feel the need to buy it so much because I've got Napoleon. Napoleon released February this year. Basically is an accumulation of the campaigns, the main campaigns in Napoleon's life. You've got Italy, Egypt and Europe. The expansion adds the Spanish Peninsula, and you've also got the main battle in the Napoleonic era, which is Waterloo. So at the minute, this is the one I'm playing. I'm really trying to get finished before Shogun 2 comes out next year. I suppose if I played Empire, Napoleon would feel like an Empire 1.5. That's basically what it is. Exact same engine, very similar setting, except you're more focusing on the French aspect. And Napoleon in early next year, we're expecting Shogun 2, which I'm really looking forward to. Shogun 2 is going to be based on the same engine as Empire and Napoleon, and it's back in Japan, of course. It's set a little bit more forward than the original Shogun. It begins like the 16th century. But Shogun 2 is going to be, I think, a big game next year, and you should all watch out for it. That's basically an overview of the Total War series. One of my favourite strategy series ever. I find it more enjoyable than Command and Conquer, Age of Empires. For me, it's the big one. That's all from me this week.